But don't you feel, I mean, I want to drive this point. Don't you feel like it really is so amazing the way Whimsical works? Like it's so fast and snappy with what you're doing.
Well, let's be honest. Okay, let's back
like
up.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like just bring it back down to like where you're actually using the.
Let's back it up to that year and a half ago when we used it, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to The Experience, brought to you by Weave.com, a show that explores what it takes to compete on customer experience and build an online company that can last decades. As always, thanks for being a supporter of the show.
Well, actually, I got to mention first the company we're talking about today.
Okay.
And of course, this is Whimsical.
Nice.
And so we take very seriously the drink selection here on the show for how we pair drinks, much like a sommelier probably. So
real quick,
wines,
I guess give us the one or two sentences of Whimsical as you break down the drink.
Okay, I'll give you the highlight, the very highlight. Okay, so Whimsical is a tool, an online visual planning, documentation, and collaboration tool. So they wanted us to look at how can one actually take the experience that a team might have at a whiteboard and make that more effective online if people aren't all in the same room or even beyond, even if they are in the same room.
Nice.
As we'll go into in a number of minutes here, there's a number of things they do really well. They take a handful of really basic things and make them work really well. A Manhattan is a drink of chosen. A Manhattan is a classic cocktail.
Yep.
A Manhattan is also a drink that doesn't have that many things going on in it. It's very simple, but it's also like surprisingly kind of hard to nail a Manhattan well sometimes. It comes down to really nailing the basics in terms of ingredients and a couple of kind of ways of preparation. If you do, it's like it lasts forever. Like this drink's been around forever. Most people don't screw with it because it's a great drink.
Right.
If you throw not so great stuff into it, you don't do those basics too well. You've just wasted a whole glass of booze. So Manhattan Whimsical.
Let's give it. I'm gonna give it a little sniffy sniff, tasty taste. Whatever you want to call it.
Have you had a Manhattan before?
Oh yeah.
Okay, how does this compare?
I think you did a really good job. I think that it's kind of what you were just saying. A lot of times when I have a Manhattan, they're really strong. I taste a lot of the alcohol, like the proof of the,
Yeah.
This feels really well blended.
Oh, good.
Like it feels like I can taste all the different pieces. And
you're not actually a fan of that vermouth I put in there.
I'm
You've
not.
Had it before, and I tried to force it on you. But how does it sit in this for you?
It's good. This is really good. Yeah, this is really good.
The show where we break down companies and become alcoholics. All right, so let me tell you about Whimsical. So as a starting point, let me give you the quick anecdotal and then the more kind of like hard, cold facts.
Okay.
Anecdotally, I bumped into Whimsical. Man, I want to say, what is it right now? Into 19. Was it like? It feels like it was probably the beginning of 18. Is it? Well, maybe
no. It was like 17, I think.
I couldn't have been because they've been around less than I thought.
Oh, okay.
So it was definitely early days.
But yeah, you were right. You were there right when they came out.
And it was as are many of these, and I'll talk more about this tools. It was kind of you come across it because of other people using it, right? Yep. We're also in this space, so you bumped into it. So my experience with it was, kind of bumping into it, having some interesting. I don't want to give us all away quite yet because I want to drive into the details of this, but I had a good first out of the box experience with it.
And I remember when you approached me with it, and you showed it to me, I was blown away. I mean, just the way how snappy it is, how responsive it is, and it just from a pure technical standpoint, engineering standpoint, so much JavaScript and everything handling, it was like.
So you're going to be a little bit more surprised than about the underpinnings of this.
Really? Okay.
Okay. So first timeline. Actually, first people who are in it. So there's two co-founders behind it.
Okay. So wait, so real quick. So what would you describe the industry that this is in?
So it's interesting. I can kind of say what the purpose of it is. I don't know. Maybe you could help me figure out the industry. So
prototyping, design tool?
Well, it gets used. It does get used. I would say it's maybe. I mean, our lens is always through the product software companies, right? So this is a tool that's, I think, actively being used in a lot of software companies for product planning and like high-level product team collaboration.
Okay.
I'm sure it can be used in other contexts as well, so I hate to put it just in that bucket.
Well, so for people that aren't watching the video and the podcast, looking at their website, they call out 4 features: the visual workspace, and you have flowcharts, wireframes, sticky notes, and mind maps.
Exactly. So those are like the 4 kind of quote-unquote products they have. Right. Just to reiterate, flowcharts, so like basic, kind of directional stuff, right? Wireframes, so actually screen layout. Sticky notes, because every UX apparently isn't UX unless there's sticky notes, and mind maps, right? So they also mentioned, I'm going to mention another tagline they have here on the website: communicate visually at the speed of thought.
No, that's powerful.
And it also speaks a lot to what they're doing. So let me go back again to the timeline for a second. So make sure I get names right here, and I'm going to hopefully I don't butcher these. Kaspar's Dances, if I'm using my American accent to pronounce his name properly. So he actually started this project in the middle of 2017. So it's not that long ago.
Yep.
And he kind of hit steam with it, I think, the latter part of the year. And he actually had his co-founder, from what I could tell, kind of joined formally on it at the beginning of 18.
Okay.
And his co-founder is Steve Schofield. And Steve, if I messed up your last name, my deepest apologies.
Where are they from?
You'll find this interesting.
Okay.
So Kaspar's actually he's from, I want to say probably from Latvia, his company was. He had started a company called Cobook SIA, which was a contact management app that was acquired by Full Contact.
What?
And so actually Kaspar's was a VP of engineering at Full Contact.
Wow.
Steve was a product designer there. And they left that to start this company.
Holy moly, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is interesting. So we know Full Contact a bit.
Yep.
So so some other things are interesting. So I think that timeline is mad respect. So these guys basically started they started on the idea, and who knows how much was before this, but it sounds like in genuine started on the idea like middle of 17. Spring of like kind of February, like early spring of 18, they actually start bringing customers into a product. And it's like, it's not exactly what it is today, but there's a lot of the product there. It started initially with this flowcharts and wireframes. And then throughout the course of 18, they introduced in this sticky note part, and then this mind maps thing has been in 19.
Okay.
And throughout the whole time, they've been a really pretty active team. They've been doing a lot of it, continued like enhancements to it. Their larger feature sets are kind of refinements. And from what I can tell, they're not a very big team. They are distributed. And just from I want to talk a lot about the experience of engaging their product and using their product, but just from the business perspective, we talk a little bit about like the identity of a company and how much of that do you resonate with as a customer. And for them, when you look at kind of these guys and kind of what they talk about, they're very much they're bootstrapped.
Yeah. Okay. No funding.
They're very and purposely bootstrapped. They've actually started charging for their product from day one, which I really respect. They have always had like a free option, but they've
hearing that they're bootstrapped, I already love them.
Yeah, they're unabashedly, but and we'll talk about this in a moment. But they have pretty simple pricing, and they're looking to kind of really look at how they can build a company for the long haul, as opposed to necessarily for an exit. And they're, I think they also are they do employee ownership,
so
kind of sane hours of working. So they have this interesting kind of a little 37 signal-ish.
Which is cool. Yeah, which is kind of how we are, I guess. But they, I'm assuming they're from Colorado.
Well, they went to Colorado, I think, because of being acquired by.
I was going to say, because Full Contact's in Colorado. Yeah. So anyway,
now.
Okay.
So that's kind of who the guys are, right? And so to paint the picture, you've got a smaller team. They're not necessarily like a crazy young team. They're like our age. Old, wise.
I feel like we're young.
Oh, sorry, we're really young, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not like 22-year-olds, right?
Oh, yeah, like ramen.
They're not got a YC or anything like that.
Okay, yeah.
And so, and they've been through a couple different other companies. They come to this with and so what's interesting to know about Whimsical and some of the approach they're taking is they're trying to really solve specific problems with specific tools. Meaning one foundational thing they were looking at doing was they could have, when they said, how can we try to take something like the whiteboard and make it actually an online experience, right? There's a lot they could have packed into that. They could have packed in the idea of drawing, pictures, frames, collaboration, the things you stick on it. And they realized early on that what they wanted to do was, rather than having a suite of tools that kind of did, or probably one application that did everything kind of somewhat right and became really cluttered, they took this notion of like this suite of discrete products. And Intercom kind of is the same thing, where these discrete kind of pieces, right? And none of them are necessarily best in class at it. At least in like an Intercom, like you might be able to find better like email marketing things and stuff. Yeah. But because of the sum of the parts, they become really strong.
Yeah.
So that was a philosophy Whimsical took at first. And what you now see is actually very recently they've started to merge those a little bit. So there's still separate, quote unquote products. Like you go into one, kind of idea for wireframing and one idea for sticky notes. But they've actually merged them now, which I don't think you've seen yet.
Oh, wow.
They're now treating them like modes. So I can be on a single document and I can go into wireframe mode and throw wireframe stuff on.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And the reason this mode stuff and this like focus is important is if I really had to say so when I look at a company like this, and I have a lot of respect for these guys, and everything's not amazing about them, but much of it is, and I mean, one would be proud to be doing what they're doing, and they're doing a good job of it. I think some of their key attributes are really this idea of like simplicity and focus, like this idea of speed, and you see it like being able to well, actually, let me kind of get maybe back up a notch there. So there's this idea of, don't want to get ahead of myself, sorry. So if you kind of like when you look at this company, like what makes them different from someone else, right?
Yeah.
And what do they stand up for versus someone else? There's a lot of things they don't do purposely. And the reason they don't do them necessarily is because they're actually trying to limit your options in an intelligent way, or give you default kind of things that you're probably going to want to do to try and make you actually think and behave at the level that's most important to get the work done.
I see.
So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So let's say that you and I are working through a product idea, and we're doing some wireframing or whatever else, and we're in a really high fidelity tool like Figma. It's really easy, or Sketch or whatever, it's really easy to start getting kind of caught in the details.
Which is what I do.
Oh, all of us do, right?
Yeah, I do that so bad.
And the beauty of something like a whiteboard is you have big fat markers, and you have horrible scribbles, and you have a conversation, and that fidelity is really interesting. And the speed's interesting because what happens is that fidelity not only limits it keeps you on like the certain level of ideas you can think about, but it also you're not going to take the labor to draw a lot of elaborate things. So
which goes back to like their whole speed of thought, right?
Exactly.
Like where you can just because if you're too far in the weeds,
exactly,
you can't get fast enough to where you want to.
Well, I think that's the point I'm trying to make is that there's two things they've done here that are really interesting from a company and maybe product perspective. One is they realize that that speed comes from actually like limiting your choices a bit. Yeah. So we're going to say when you're working on this kind of focus, so there's a couple ways to talk about this. When you're working on like one of their quote unquote products, like the sticky note to the wireframing or whatever, they've given you a UI that's very tailored to that. The functionality is very tailored to that. They've given you presets in a way that are actually, they're a little confining, but they're confining in the right ways. They're like the big thick marker so you don't accidentally get buried in the details. Mm-hmm. And then they've also made their speed a really priority, the performance. Okay. So as part of the speed comes from like really being specific in what they offer you at a given time, but they're also have invested really intelligently in like their technical speed such that, and you and I
noticed
remarked
that
about this initially.
I noticed that, yeah. It drew me to them really well.
Yeah. So I think back to like even the drink thing, like at the end of the day, as a starting point, what these guys have really done intelligently out of the gate, and I have a lot of respect for the focus they've done here, is they've decided that by really nailing down a handful of key ideas really well, so they have key ideas of like the speed, like the infrastructure they build on. They have, frankly, even the functionality. They've really taken a handful of pieces of functionality for how to like draw things on the screen, connect them, and let you do that quickly, and they repurpose that into a handful of different applications across these products. It's pretty intelligent.
So real quick. So going back to, competing on a world where you're not worried about features and pricing and things, and like it's really a good experience. What is it like? So I can't remember the onboarding experience really well. Do they have a big onboarding experience? And then what is the product experience like?
Yeah, once that
like keeps you. Are you paying for? Are we paying?
I have intermittently. I don't think I'm using it right now. Actively enough to pay for it, but
so and real quick, so real quick,
deal.
looking at their pricing. So it looks like they have a free plan.
Yep.
They have a $10 a month per user.
So they basically.
Oh, that's yearly or monthly.
Yeah,
okay, and that's unlimited. Okay, so you can create up to 4 free boards, unlimited.
So the best way to think about it is they have a fully featured, but you have a finite amount of things you can of documents.
Boards, okay.
Kind of very free to get a taste, right? And then beyond that, there's one plan, and it just has 2 price points depending if you're paying annual.
Oh, one's monthly, one's yearly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
interesting.
The way it scales, like their economic is on a user. So, which I think we should talk about more. It's interesting how you think about that in the context of an application that is collaborative.
Yeah.
So we didn't mention that yet, but like a big facet of this, it'd be one thing if you just did it yourself, right? But a big facet of this is actually collaboration. You and I can be in the same document at the same time, and it scales the same way where...
I can't remember. Is it like Figma where I can see you can see me kind of dragging our mouses around all that kind of thing? Okay. All right, so yeah, go ahead. So onboarding and then...
To answer your onboarding question, so maybe just advance, I would say just ahead of that, like there's a little bit to know about kind of like what the feeling of Whimsical is.
Okay.
So when you come into Whimsical, there's a light kind of playfulness that comes to it. We talked a bit about that speed and that kind of, but even in the marketing, there's a playfulness, there's a lightness, that same kind of personality, I'd say, because it's authentic.
I can see that,
it's a small team.
It's pink, it's purple, it's bubbly, it's... Yeah.
But you get the same kind of vibe even if you start, like, if you're paying attention to what they're talking about, like on social media and that. And I think it's like you've talked about with other companies like Shinesty and that, like it basically comes down to the fact these guys are pretty authentic. Like they just, they're a small team doing what they need to do. When you get into actually being a new user, the onboarding is, I would say it's not bad, but it's not amazing by any match.
Okay.
They do on both the marketing site and when you come in the onboarding, they do a good job of exemplifying the product by showing it. So meaning that like when they're talking about their features on the marketing side, they'll actually show the power of those features by actually showing the product. So they'll have a handful of examples like, here's how we do wireframes, and they have a handful of examples. Here's a great way how we use sticky notes. Here's how we use them at and they actually show the product as opposed to just marketing blurbs. When you get into the product itself as a new user, there's 1 or 2 documents you can play with, and I want to circle back to this in a minute. But there's some stuff that's a little bit kind of klutzy, and that's probably not. It's a little kludgy, I think, in terms of how you experience the application once you get into this kind of. Let me make sure I'm saying that right because I don't want to misrepresent it. A lot of the application works really, really, really well. There's a layer atop it of how they organize your project that's a little cumbersome. And so that's one of my concerns. So then that affects your onboarding.
Okay, got it.
A lot of, after that, when you get into it, a lot of the products actually you kind of learn through discovery, I would say, like in terms of actually playing with it.
So I have an account.
Uh-huh.
I just logged into it. It's all of our Weave stuff. So clearly I've used this, but I cannot remember for the life of me when I first signed up.
Yeah.
And obviously they have 4 different products. You've got flowcharts, wireframes, sticky notes, mind maps. Which ones do they throw you in at when you first start?
So when you first show up, you get kind of what you saw here, what you're looking at right now, which is the index of all your projects. And actually, let's go ahead and talk about this for a second. So, as you can tell, I think these guys are doing well, right? One of my gripes, and I think it's actually been like frustrating since day one, and it's still here, is there is this, and it's kind of actually interesting too, because it actually ties to even to the fact that they're a collaborative app, right? Like a lot of their power comes from me getting you in here and us working together.
I see.
Navigating between, they have this notion, and if you haven't used a product, you won't know this yet, but just a high level. They have this notion of workspaces, so things where I can collect stuff, right? And I can put teams in that. They have this notion of files, obviously, and projects and so forth. Nice projects and workspaces are somewhat similar in here. There's some weird stuff they've done in the UX for like this whole layer that sits atop the individual files to navigate between workspaces, to navigate to projects, to actually manage the people who are on the projects, to get you and I in the same project, to know whether it's my personal space versus a team space. That stuff's really muddy.
It's just like real messy how to do it.
It's like this index kind of layer on top of everything else. It's like just muddy, and I don't know. Well, which is interesting because they've spent a lot of time everywhere else. This is definitely a weird point in the experience. Yeah,
it's weird because
like you and I have been in these before, and I've been trying to share stuff with you.
Yeah,
and it's been like a little you bump around because you don't know what the hell you're
doing. It's
so
weird because their product once you're in it is amazing. It's rock solid.
That's what I didn't want to talk about this yet, but let's actually give a little counterpoint to this for a second. So let's come back to that for a moment. So I want to talk about when you go into these individual products, why this is actually, because we talk about a lot of experience stuff where a lot of the experience obviously happens in sales and a lot of that emotional energy around, buying, and even like when you're in a point of pain, like support. And the product, is often comes down to a lot to like functionality and stuff, right? And so what actually distinguishes this from like another product that can let you do flowcharts like Lucid or something? These guys, like we mentioned, have really invested a lot in speed. So technical is one. It's kind of like were you mentioning before, Superhuman or someone where they really invested in like this quick response time.
Yeah.
These guys have really tightened that loop where when I do something, I can move very quickly, and they've done it again through like smart defaults. So when I choose to do something like 9 times out of 10, the thing they presume I want to do is accurate, so I can move more quickly.
Okay.
It's technically quick, but also there's something they've done in each of these where they don't have a lot of noise around the experience. And so when I go in there and I actually start working on a document, it just affords to me kind of the right information and the right actions at the right time, kind of contextual sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's been a real intentional choice of theirs as well. And back to that idea of leveraging kind of the things you do well.
Yep.
And I just really want to drive this point home because I think this is really like the secret sauce of Whimsical, is they have really taken a handful of ideas, and some of those are like, how do we like get the noise out of your way? How do we make sure we get you to like, kind of the right kind of, defaults, etc. And the technical ones. And then they've also emphasized they've also invested in building just core pieces of functionality. Like how do I show an element on a screen really effectively? How do I style in a way that's like at a default going to look attractive so my users don't have to mess with it? how do I actually make this stuff connect in a really elegant way? And then once you do that for like a flowchart, their first thing, it's not a world apart to do that for objects that sit on a screen for a wireframe or for a mind map. So I really have a lot of like a jealousy / appreciation for the fact these guys really dialed in a really core, like super solid core feature set, and they've been repurposing that across these different products.
Do you think that though? So and I can't say this enough. So when I use the product, I feel like it's very snappy and crisp and clean, and it just works. I don't have to think when I'm doing it. I can flow, and
for like building something.
Yeah, and it just feels so natural when I'm clicking around, I'm dragging things, and I mean, there's only a handful of options that you can do, and you can change a couple of colors here and there, and dotted line. You know what I mean? Like flowcharty stuff, right? Do you think it's because they invested time with building that underlying tech to be able to create those other products that you're talking about? Or
I think it's twofold.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But don't you feel, I mean, I want to drive this point. Don't you feel like it really is so amazing the way Whimsical works? Like it's so fast and snappy with what you're doing.
Well, let's be honest. Okay, let's back
up.
Like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like just bring it back down to like where you're actually using the.
Let's back it up to that year and a half ago when we used it, right?
Yeah.
And we were both in a different setting, working like, and we were trying to like. So when you and I were in bigger organizations that don't have, like the big product companies, right? They have. I think what was exciting is you get to see when. Sorry, I guess there's two thoughts answering your question here.
Yeah.
Yes, awesome, because it was in fact like I guess the reason I'm pausing there is that were it not that like amazing, like kind of like responsive and quick, it wouldn't have caught our eye because there's a lot of things that do that. So that was actually a pretty good differentiator.
Yes.
What else is really valuable about that, because of the way this thing needs to grow, which is maybe a separate tangent to talk about here, is this is a collaborative tool that's going to grow because I like it. And if you were another person on my team and I need you to do work, I would implore you to use this. But if you're in a different space and you and I are working on it for different reasons, so we're more collaborative, kind of like a Slack kind of thing, then it grows in a different way, right? Like you're going to have a different reason you care about it than I care about it. But both of us are going to care about the fact that we can like quickly get in there and like express ideas.
But to your point, the interface almost looks like paint. Like not in a bad like. In the simplistic way, like there's only you can't really screw it up. You know what I mean? Like it's so nice.
It's kind of smart guardrails, right?
Yeah, it's like less is more is like so powerful with Whimsical.
So let me. Okay, this might be a little detailed for audio, but let me just kind of describe what this means to people.
Okay.
So what they've done is, let's say they're wireframing things. An interesting example of this. You go into a wireframe, then you throw a button on a screen. Not that hard to draw a button in any application, right? But that button actually has like a handful of preset kind of sizes, and it has or text has the same thing, I believe. It has actually states, like if it's pressed or an input, has different states, like it's disabled or whatever. Well, that's kind of handy. It's a convenience. You have this basically library of pieces to build something with. But it did something else implicitly, which is suddenly it said, you know what? You really shouldn't be spending your time at this point worrying if that's like 34 point or 32 or 36. Get on with your life. It's either small, medium, or large because it's more about.
And that's really what it says. It really says small, medium, or large, right?
Exactly. Because the point is like, is it big important, little important?
Yes.
And it goes back to that whiteboard mentality where you and I can have dialogue about, you know what, Jay, I think it should be this, and Clayton, it should be that. And it's less about the aesthetic that we're worried about, and more about the other piece.
You're getting to the deeper part of what. Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's okay. So we've talked a little bit about. I mean, I will say, even from my own use. Right, and this is an interesting one because we both use this, but I think it's a very powerful tool. I think that they deserve a little bit more credit. Clearly, they're bootstrapped, so they're kind of struggling to kind of maybe not struggling, but like I don't hear a lot of people. I mean, I've tweeted about them several times, being like, "Hey, this tool is amazing." And so, I mean, what do you think in terms of product? Like, who do you think this tool is for?
That's a really good question.
And are they doing a good job? Like. I guess I'm thinking about the future of Whimsical, right? Like what?
That's interesting. Because what you have right there is like, okay, so let me just wrap that up. You have a product that's actually doing really well. That gets built well. It actually does its job well. When someone actually engages it, they don't just have like that, like I thought it was good and then they bail. Like it actually truly does. Like you want to stick around, right?
Yep.
And unless someone blocks you on doing so, you want to bring it into your whole team. So like all those things are working in the direction. But as far as like who they go after, that's interesting because like you could almost argue like this could be as much in a product design firm as it could be in a real estate firm or something, right? Being used. I don't know, like it's a tricky question. Like I wonder if I was in their shoes, if I had to do that, I'd almost be tempted to try and go after a specific area, but I don't know.
Do you think they're in the design world? Is that really where they're playing?
I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm a little, my bias is there because I've seen it through that lens. And to your point, like, and again, it's an anecdotal perception, but a lot of people are using it. And the reason they use it, Jay, is like, it has a Slack flavor to it. Yeah. They use it because they want to use it. And they keep using it until someone tells them they can't use it. And then eventually enough people want to use it that the company decides to use it.
Yeah. So let me stop you there. So me and you have been using this since the day they pretty much launched. Yeah. We love it. We've used it in the sense of big product teams versus a startup that we're building right now. But I don't think we've ever paid for it.
Well, we have intermittently, but I will say that's a good point. So the reason we're not paying for it today, so it's either one or two things. We're either not using it routinely enough that would warrant us to create enough stuff to do the stuff it already does well. Because you and I have used it for like working out some complex kind of like
that's true. Flows. That's true. Yeah, I saw them earlier. Here.
But and I don't know if this is really where they should be playing, or if it's their goal. But like I'll give you an example. The wireframing, I do love this fact that like it keeps me out of trouble. I can just go work quickly, but it has some hard edges to it where I can't. For example, like this is a very specific example, but when you're in a wireframe and you're building stuff, you can't link these things together and actually click through them. Is a small example.
Oh, so you can like in Figma where you can build it out and then build a
right. So you can actually do layouts really quickly. Like you and I had a whiteboard, and that's what it's emulating. But if I want to actually feel the experience of what it feels like to go through those, I can't do that here yet. And frankly, I don't know.
Is there an export feature like going to Figma from here?
There probably is. But then really? I feel like it's like 2005. So. But the
no. I mean, like like I guess if you build a prototype in here,
you could pop it out to images,
and then you go, okay.
But I think so. I don't know if that's not in their interest or if because actually it's funny. I was curious how their support was, right? And so I looked at I pulled up their little I think they use Intercom. I pulled up their little bubble, and I actually had some old chats in there from them. And they were super responsive. I think it was actually Steve that had written me back at the time.
Really? Oh shit!
And I'd asked him about that very feature and of linking stuff, and it was like probably mid 18. And they're like, something we'd love to do, but we haven't done yet, and it's still not there. So you asked me like why we don't pay for it. Like in our pipeline of work, if I could get it to a little further along where I could actually I might be more tempted, or if we're doing more stuff. But it could also be that frankly our uses may be intermittent. I don't know. It might be, I wonder. It might be for like when we have like that kind of.
I'm so curious. Did you find anything out about the revenue?
I wish I could have. I didn't see their revenue or their customer base, but
I wonder too if they have like a freemium. Like this is another thing. So I want to really put a peg here in the episode around pricing strategies for SaaS companies. Because pricing strategies, like it's kind of an overlooked thing, right? Where if you're launching a product, especially these guys, they're bootstrapped. They're clearly talented guys, but pricing strategy plays a big factor in how successful you are as a SaaS company. It seems like they have a freemium, and then they have basically one plan, and it's monthly or yearly. And so
I do appreciate the fact there's like so little
simplistic
mental noise.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it'd be interesting to know how well they're doing with that.
So when you say that, okay, pretend like again, we're the jerks that don't know their company inside. We're just saying all the stuff outside, but we're running that thing. Do you think? I mean, there's a company with a price point on it. I've wondered, like, that's a price point where you have to get a lot of customers. They need to get 100 customers just to have 1,000 MRR a month, right? So that's a lot of a hill to climb. It is a collaborative tool.
Yeah, sorry. Hold on, let me stop you there because that's a huge point, right? Like 1,000 customers.
Well, 100 customers.
Or sorry, 100 customers,
which is a lot.
To hit 100 customers to hit.
Isn't that right? Am I doing the math right? It is.
Yeah.
So just like we should break that down if we're speaking like so to have a monthly recurring revenue of $1,000, nothing to it's not bad, but you need to get a lot of those to survive. It's 100 people, and not like 100 people, but 100 people stay.
Even like a regular SaaS company, like you need to be $40K to pay for a couple people benefit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they've got a lot of, that's a lot of people they got to bring on. I guess, sorry. So just to break down some pricing plans, right? So you've got freemium, which I don't even know if I consider that a pricing plan. I think it's more of a customer acquisition strategy, just like a free trial.
Yeah, so you have to experience it to decide if you're going to pay for
it.
Yeah.
So like I would even think maybe a free trial might benefit them more with a card or something, or just 30 days and then you got to put a card in. It'd be interesting to see what they do, because I really do believe that people love their product, but I think that their pricing strategy is hurting them.
Do you think? So again, like I don't know if there's a better way to do this, but I wonder about it. Like they have a product that one could only hope, like they have a product that anyone could hope to have, right? They've done really, really well.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So do you think, as far as like making that, man, it feels so like quarterback or like armchair quarterback to do this, but is it more that's just the market they're playing in? Like, i.e., like you can't charge more than that for this tool based on what it is? Or is it that, you know what, there's actually like, you actually should tailor your customer to be upscaled or up chain a little bit to, people that have like a design team of like 10 people, and they're actually going to really, benefit from
I think that,
product team, right?
Yeah, I think it's more, the pricing seems okay. Like, like if you, maybe a little more, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, I don't know. No, pricing's probably good. I think it's more just, again, I think they're blending. I think people confuse freemium and free trials with a pricing plan rather than a customer acquisition strategy.
Well,
and I think if they could push a little bit more, I mean, even looking at I'm inside their product right now on my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all my projects. I don't see anywhere to upgrade in here.
Well, you'll see it as soon as you hit that hard. Go back to your index. Okay. You'll see it as soon as you hit. Okay, so let me mention this real quick. So we talk about the goods and the bads, right? Right now, there is, so the very top here, you've got a few of these quote unquote boards left, right? So.
Well, there we go. Yeah. So, if I have. So so I have 2 boards left. So I go up there and hover over. So it's not a button that's like explicitly saying upgrade. Yeah. Now it's just saying 2 boards left. So I hover over it.
You presumably hit that when you actually ran out of the value. Like, so you were asking about like, should they have a time trial? They've got something that you just basically, once you use up the value in it, so you go through X, and they're not that many. Yeah. And frankly, it's kind of one of my gripes because this whole UX on their whole index of projects and workspaces is so awkward. You actually can burn through those 4 free things accidentally while you're trying to onboard yourself.
Oh, really?
While you're just clicking on things.
Maybe that's why they do it. Yeah, because it's definitely not value-based pricing. There's no value. It's just boards. You get 4 boards or you get unlimited. That's literally all they're offering you, the difference. So they're not pulling out any other feature. There's no feature-based price. You know what I mean? Like, they're not saying you get more of this, you get more of that. Yeah. And so, I mean, but if you think about it, like, look at Adobe and, you know what I mean? This is massive companies building these design tools that, I don't know. I just, it's hard for me because I really do believe in the product. I think they've done a great job in terms of just the product itself. And I would love, I wish we knew more about the revenue of them.
We need to just basically take them out for drinks.
Like Whimsical. Come on, man. Really close.
But I would say, like, no doubt, I would say that there's every part of me that wants them to win, and I think they will. But I think we're both saying the same thing, where they actually they have to get a really big consumer base.
They need everyone on. But to your point, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But real quick, you were saying, like, do they go to designs? I think that's the way they have to go. I think they have to get bought in by a bunch of designers. It's collaborative. They get everybody on. But I think the other thing too is, like, if you got a bunch of design teams, maybe the design team's the wrong word, but product-based teams. Because because like Figma and Sketch, and that's tough. But
it'd be bigger than a design team, but it'd be the product, because they're solving, especially as teams become more remote.
But I was just gonna say remote teams. I think like us with Weave, I think it's really powerful. We've got a bunch of people that are in remote spots. Me and you are local, but like we're design, we're product, we're marketing, we're business, and we're all in there kind of playing around. But then sometimes. Yeah, I guess we would use it because, I mean, Figma, you're just so good with it, you can spin up a prototype in there anyway. But
I guess.
But you did do a lot of stuff with Weave in here, and it was super powerful. The customer saver thing was massive in here.
Exactly. So I mean, I guess to kind of bring it back, like if I'm looking at them kind of high level, I have mad respect for these guys. Like they have actually done a shit ton of work in a short period of time.
Yep.
They have had a product that is remarkably impressive technically and design.
Yep.
My only gripes with it are really the fact that this whole admin layer that sits on top of the individual files is kind of a pain in the ass, and it also leads to kind of some weird onboarding. I think they're also. I love the fact that they're well, I'm kind of curious, frankly. I think, again, like you and I have chatted a little bit about this. I'm excited the fact that they really nailed down like 5 things.
Yeah.
And they've repurposed them in like 84 ways to make these products. It makes me wonder if there's a tiny bit of a hard edge there. Like, I'm curious if there's some stuff that they haven't brought together. Like, for example, the linking of those prototypes or linking of those frames. Like, I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. Like, there's a lot of value there, and it seems like it's a clear extension of where you're going. Is it maybe not possible because of these the way you built like
the technical
flow
stuff?
Charts, right? Flowcharts weren't meant to
I
be
think
linked
the
to each other.
technicals. It might be a technical hurdle.
Maybe.
Yeah. So real quick, 2 questions just to wrap this up. So one, if you want to recommend this to a friend, would you and why?
Okay.
That'd be the first question.
Okay. So I would say definitely. Although I guess and the catch would be, you know what? Honestly, definitely.
Really?
Like, if someone has need for these kind of tools, even if they weren't working remotely, and here's the primary reason I'd say so. This does to me, and it's kind of the same reason I like what like the 37 signal guys do and stuff. Like, it teaches you to think. It doesn't teach you. It encourages you. It does a good. This is what I love a product, especially if it does this intentionally. If it encourages you to do certain behavior that makes sense. So this product, by the way it's designed, encourages you to think and act and communicate at a level that's most effective. You
love products that are like create behavioral change.
Yeah. And this one has a behavior, and I will say that's not like accidental. These guys are clearly trying to do that.
But I think again, sorry, real quick. I do think again with the behavioral change, they could influence their pricing a lot better than what they're doing.
So dive into that. How would you do that?
I just think that the way that they should just think more about how customers, like how customers are using the product and their usage of it and the engagement and how many people our team is inviting, how long are they using it, how many boards. I feel like they kind of launched that from the beginning because it's always been this way, this pricing, and I don't think they've tested it once. And I think that they're losing out a lot.
So you're saying there's a different like vector of value they could like work on besides users?
I do. Yeah. Especially with the other products that they're launching.
I have no idea. I didn't see anything from when I looked into them most recently of where they're going next. I'd be curious. They're not lazy. They definitely are working on something.
No.
Like if they're going to add another whole.
I definitely have like the utmost respect just because they're bootstrapped. I love that they're bootstrapped. By the way, I mean, I just think that's what we do, right? Like I just think it's just awesome.
I think the other thing, so you had 2 questions. So one, I'm guessing, was a recommendation.
Yep, and the second one would be if the guys was Steven and what?
I know
butcher his name again.
I think it was his first name. Sorry,
Caspers and Steven. Let's say they're in the room.
Okay.
We're hanging out with them. We're in Boulder. We're at a dispensary or having a drink. I'm just kidding. What kind of feedback? What would be the one thing you would tell them? Hey guys, I think, and I obviously have mine, which is be pricing.
Yours would be pricing. Okay. Yeah. Well, fair enough, because I do want them to succeed, and I think I do worry about the finding a million users idea. Mine is probably a little bit more, and this is like telling the person who has a really nice clothes that they have like a weird scarf on. Like everything else is really, really good. I don't know where that came from, but but I will say this whole administrative layer they have on. It doesn't have the same intelligence. That's not the right word. It doesn't have the same like ease of use and the same elegance that the rest of the product has. Okay. You have to actually work your way through understanding it, and it often creates confusion. Okay. So my understanding, like, and some of this is merely semantic. Like they have this weird thing where they have this idea of workspaces. When you go into a workspace, there's a section called a workspace that has your folders. So there's like this double kind of thing. You have a section that's private, but when you go into workspace, you have an area called personal. So there's just like some weird stuff that isn't hard to iron out. But I would hopefully they're investing there a little bit because it would make it easier for me when I get in there to know what's what.
It feels like,
and for me to share those spaces and make collaborative workspaces.
Yeah, it feels like almost like a fast follow where they're trying to fix that, but they're not fixing it. You're not cleaning up the stuff that they left behind.
Maybe. I mean, which Hopefully they are, because they're smart. But it does surprise. Like, this is the same thing I saw when I first started their product.
But I will say, okay, so I think between both of us, I think we both, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think we both feel like the product's 10 out of 10.
And it's congruent. Like
it's amazing.
They're always hitting that same.
Product's amazing. The branding, I love it. I love the way that they're approaching, the way they kind of portray themselves. I think it's perfect. But yeah, I think the pricing and some of the things with once you're trying to upgrade. Again, just like back to kind of the upgrading, kind of adding teams. It's again, if they're going to go after that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it'd be interesting. I definitely want a future in like 5 years where these guys are like they're still a very big thing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, they could be good. All right. So thank you everyone for joining the Experience Show. We just went over Whimsical. Founded in 2017, a couple founders, they're bootstrapped. We both love the product. We have a few things of feedback for them, but I think we hope that I love the fact that they're building a company that's, they're really thinking about it lasting decades rather than, a quick burn and turn kind of thing,
good
right?
Point. Oh, they very much are. And they're only a state away, so when you guys want to get together, just let us know.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for coming to the show. As always, we made our Manhattan for the show, which ties into Whimsical. So stay around and watch us make the drink.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
See ya.
The Experience is brought to you by Weave.com, the innovative tool that is helping SaaS companies automate their customer retention. As always, thanks for being a supporter of the show. You've had the experience. Now stay for the drink.
Do you know what we're making today?
It looks like something with bourbon in it.
Oh, bourbon, my friend. So close.
Rye? Oh, Manhattan.
Yeah. Oh, bingo. So rye and vermouth. Okay, so we're making a Manhattan. I will say, as much as I love cocktails, it took me a hard minute to figure out making a good Manhattan. Everyone was in love with them. I'd make them. I'd be like, meh. And it really comes down to making, not only having a good spec on it, but really making choices with good ingredients.
Sure,
it's a drink that really shows off what you put into it.
Okay.
So we have a really nice rye. We have a really nice vermouth. So let's go to it. So in this drink, we're going to use 1 ounce. Actually, we'll start with the bitters. We're going to use 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. And a dash is really like you gotta mean it. You don't want to just dribble that in. And then we've got 1 ounce. Actually, we're doing a double, aren't we, Jay? So let's double down.
Nice.
All right. And now we'll do 1 ounce per drink of vermouth. Oh, Jay, would you grab me the jigger? We did forget one thing in our immaculate preparation. So 1 ounce per drink of this. This particular vermouth is, I'd say it's a little stronger vermouth. I kind of like it in this drink. It just stands out a little better against that rye.
Yeah, over there.
But I would say you just got a good...
So real quick, is that a dry vermouth or a sweet?
This would be a sweet vermouth.
Okay.
And so this sweet vermouth also just has it's a little more of a bully, but it stands out nicely with that strong rye.
Okay. Yeah, it's 100 proof rye, so we kind of need
exactly.
Something.
So pretty straightforward here. So we had 1 ounce per drink of the vermouth, and now we're going to 2.5 ounces per drink of this delicious rye. So this is a drink that kind of it's in the same family as a martini, actually, interestingly enough. And the idea here is you're basically complementing the liquor with a fortified wine in the way of vermouth. So it gives you both some of the sweetener as well as the seasoning, and then you get some more seasoning from the bitters.
Cool.
So this is a stirred drink. So we have no citrus nor no dairy or egg in it. So we're going to stir it to try and integrate these flavors, to chill it, and also to dilute it a bit. And then our goal is to really get like a nicely, properly diluted drink that has that kind of silky texture. So we're going to stir this for about 20 seconds.
And then again, just to kind of re-jog everybody's memory, you stir this rather than shake it.
So you'll shake drinks that are you'll shake drinks that have citrus or other like egg and so forth. And the reason you're doing that is, one, you're trying to give it a certain texture, like you're aerating it. It also tends to blend those flavors a little more effectively. When you stir a drink, you're still blending the flavors, but they're a little less integrated, so you still taste the character of each flavor a little bit more. And the texture is also different. So when you're stirring a drink, you're trying to go for a texture that's a little more silky, which is what you have for like an old fashioned or a martini, or in this case, the Manhattan.
Gotcha.
And again, the dilution is something that's actually pretty important. If you under dilute a drink, it's actually a little hot. Over diluted, you actually have a weak drink, obviously. So usually it's about 20 to 25 seconds of stirring will get you there. So this drink is served up, which means it's in a coupe glass, which looks like this. And we pre-chilled these glasses. And when you usually serve a drink up, you don't normally have ice in it. So we will strain our drinks into these. And then there's one little piece we'll add on the end, which is a nice little enhancement to the Manhattan.
Is that the maraschino cherry?
It is. So, I always joke, it's the little things. It's like putting that last 10% of air in the tire of your bike, right? It's the little things in life that usually make all the difference, right? So here, having like these high quality maraschino cherries, you can get them from this. You know, I noticed recently you can go to Trader Joe's and get like some little ones they have that are in the neighborhood of this. But these really kind of delicious, real non-high fructose corn syrup cherries, they give a nice flavor, and they really just give like a presentation that makes the rest of the drink work. And so there is a classic drink, the Manhattan.